So between turns, we research animal husbandry. I have horses on the map, but none within the borders of Beijing. This is Brussels, and they just not give me gold. That would be rude. India is protecting them. That doesn't really matter, as far as I can tell from having played the beginning of these games a very large amount of the time. A very large number of times. Cool. It's a really fascinating map. Okay, so we got there. This is a long, long way away from Beijing, but we can grab a worker from it and he'll get there eventually. So typically you can get your capital to size 5 by the time collective rule comes in. I don't think that getting the immediate population growth from that ancient ruins at the start of the game is going to get me to size 6. It might, coupled with the bananas and this copper, if I start working that copper next. Gosh, look at these guys go. Huh. It might. I could do math and work it out pretty easily. I have 15 turns. Yeah, it's not going to. Okay, math done. I'm assuming that this worker is going to start on the horses straight away when he gets built. Sometimes waiting for the city-states to actually build their workers is a little bit stressful. So the Aztecs have ranged city combat strength, which is sort of hilarious because they want to capture other people's cities, right? And they're working on a religion which will, if it spreads to other people's cities, make those cities harder to capture. So perhaps not the wisest AI decision, but I wonder if like the AI just thinks to itself that there's so much land. there's like, gosh, there's just so much of it. I wonder if the AI just thinks to itself, I want to be a warrior, so I'm gonna pick this pantheon which has something to do with combat, without thinking it through and realizing that it's not a very good pantheon to pick. Okay, I think I'm allowed to pillage that if I declare war on Brussels. It doesn't seem like a very good idea, so I won't. And we can see that the Aztec capital is over there, but we already knew. Ethiopia, like, they have nothing but defensive traits, if I remember right. So they sort of just take up some land and then you don't get that land. And sometimes they build a lot of wonders. They have 7 turns until this tile comes in, but only 2 turns until growth. I probably just won't buy it and let myself expand to it slowly though, because all it's doing is giving me extra gold anyway. So yeah, all I do is tell them, sorry dude, I'll leave, and then they forget about it some number of turns from now. And looks like I delayed my capture of their worker by a couple of turns to do that extra scouting, but that's okay. The extra scouting is quite valuable. Alright, so a couple of things happened between turns. One thing is that the Deity AI is a lot better at researching things than I am. Another is I forgot to make peace with Brussels, but there we go. Did that. So I took some damage on my spearmen that I really didn't have to take. Make peace with these guys. So only Mombasa has a permanent penalty, which is fine. Somebody founded a fertility rights pantheon, which doesn't matter a whole lot. And Beijing has grown and completed a granary. So now I have to work out what am I going to do between now and I get my free settler in 9 turns, so around that long. I think that a very natural thing to do is grab an archer. Gonna need to scout up here with something. I'm going to need to escort a lot of settlers and workers to some very appealing city sites. So having another military unit is very valuable, and archers are sort of the bread and butter of China at the beginning of the game. Because archers upgrade to composite bowmen, upgrade to a Chukonu eventually. And it costs me, I can actually see everything because of these cool improved mouse overs. It costs me 40 hammers to build an archer, 75 to build a composite bowman, and 120 to build a Chukonu. So out of those, it was 45, right? Oh, 40. So 40 hammers plus 180. So I'm paying 180 gold for 80 hammers. Compare that to what I'd get for other stuff, like 100 hammers costs 500 gold. It's just very gold efficient to be spending your gold on upgrading units. It's basically what I'm showing you here. 80 hammers for 180 gold is almost 50%, whereas the other stuff is typically more like 20% conversion rate. So it's good to be building your military units at low tech and upgrading them. Between turns, Ethiopia is mad at me, but I am sure they will forget about that sometime soon. I will probably forget about it also. So I have to start maximizing my workers now. I think that I need to buy this tile, because I'm going to want to start working that quite soon. And I'd like to get a mine going there. So I think I'll send that worker straight to that tile. Often I have time to build a worker in my capital, but this capital is very, very low production. And I think I'm getting this policy earlier than usual too. Yeah, because I popped plus 20 culture out of something. So I'm going to be working with 2 workers for a little bit, which is definitely not enough. Once I have mines set up, it will be easier to build more though. This guy doesn't really need to babysit the worker. Barbarians are almost certainly going to be an inconvenience at some point, but it's not too big a deal. Ethiopia has founded a mosque religion, and they're going to get tons of faith, so I may want to build some shrines. I don't think anyone's taken +1 culture from jungle tiles yet, so I may actually want to try to get a pantheon and get that huge culture boost. Who's that? Is that Ethiopia? I think that's Ethiopia. It's just like a little bit hard to tell though. I'm gonna go ahead and buy this tile. Still expanding onto this one next turn, in fact. And that city is basically ready to go for a good while. It's gonna work 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tiles, and they happen to be basically every good tile that it has. And it's gonna build a lot of settlers.